talk about and learn about cultural roots and our history, about our ancestors, ancestral practices, right? Plant medicine, all of those things. And then we also want to, in addition to the wellness stuff, we want to be able to give folks opportunities to learn and to gain skills around career and workforce preparedness. Maybe you want to learn about.
My name is Stephanie Balan. I go by Steph. I go by pronouns she, her.
Hey, I'm Christine Morales Kumasawa. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
So my name is Elena Mogel, and at Kapwa Cultural Center and Café, I have the role as the Operations and Engagement Coordinator. I also work with youth in Kaya, otherwise known as Kapwa Youth Advisory, and just an overall human being trying to give back my own purpose into the world to transform it into a healing place.
I'm one of the co-founders of Kapwa Cultural Center as well as the associate director. I'm also a mental health clinician and a co-chair of the Filipino Mental Health Initiative. For me, Kapwa means everything that has to do with our Filipina exo culture being kind of rooted together as one. Whether that's our identity, in the ways in which we gather, the food, the things that we share in common in terms of practices, and just that shared experience of being in community, being together, and being in a collective, and really just sort of understanding each other without even saying words or even having an exchange. It's just that aspect of I see you, you see me, and there's that instant connection.
I am one of the co-founders and senior directors of Kapwa Cultural Center and Café, as well as a mental health clinician and co-chair of the Filipino Mental Health Initiative. Kapwa means, to me, a sense of connectedness, shared identity. It's rooted in a collectivist value, so very much the vibe of community, and just this notion about I see you and me, and me and you, vice versa. So Kapwa Cultural Center and Cafe is a social enterprise, and so what that means is it's a hybrid of a nonprofit and a for-profit business model. And the intention behind that was around sustainability, and we wanted to ensure that we had diversified funding streams, which included revenue-generating activities. So that means, like the cafe part of it, the Boba Cafe, that money that we're making from that resource is going to go back into operational funding for services for the community. And I guess you could share what it does.
Yeah. Well, sort of the thing that we sort of have our pitch that we give to folks who ask us that question, right? And just to kind of dovetail on what Steph said, it's a youth-focused social enterprise that combines innovative programming focused on entrepreneurship, mentorship, workforce preparedness, leadership skills, as well as mental health education, ethnic studies to promote positive cultural identity formation, with all of this being rooted in holistic wellness concepts and principles, and the expressive arts. So taking activities that make someone feel whole, right? A holistic wellness approach means being able to have folks sort of gravitate toward what healing is for them through these different activities, right? Through art, music, through just being in community. We want to make sure that we're honoring also sort of our ancestral cultural practices, right? And celebrating that through these different branches and through these different activities at the cafe, which not only includes the youth programming, but it's also community offerings, workshops, classes, all encompassing of what makes someone feel whole as a person, right? There's different facets to wellness. It's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual,
Financial.
and financial, right? So all of those things sort of combined under one roof.
Yeah, and we also wanted to speak to the statistics that are out there right now in regard to Filipino youth and Filipino American youth experiencing high rates of depression, anxiety, dropout, and through integrating a lot of different programming related to holistic health, we want to give youth an opportunity to be able to engage in many types of mental health programming that isn't threatening or intimidating to them. So while some folks would benefit from talk therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, we wanted to also include activities like yoga and movement classes, maybe Tai Chi, right? To also have that connection to mind and body to improve their mental health and well-being, which is really amazing because then the community and youth have this wide variety of choices to choose from that they'll identify with. And the exciting part about it being a boba business is that folks love boba. I think I know so many of us in community that love boba, and while the business will be open for that, there will also be time allocated to have our workshops and education classes, and even a dedicated space for other community partners to use when needed. So it's great to be in community with folks who oftentimes don't have that real estate to be able to carry out the work that they need to do also. And it's the first of its kind in North San Mateo County, which we are excited about because I grew up in Daly City. I was born in San Francisco, and growing up I didn't have a space, like a culturally affirming, healing space to gather with my peers or even with elders, because also the intention is to have it intergenerationally engaging. So for this to come to fruition just means the world to me, and I imagine because I'm also a mom, so now my son has a place to go where he can gather and get boba, but then also learn about his culture, connect with folks, learn from folks and that he identifies with. So
what have you been doing leading up to the opening?
what haven't we been doing? Oh my goodness, we just had a retreat of outlining what we've done since 2021, but I feel like the groundwork and the foundational stuff happened like far beyond like when we actually got the money to start building. So I guess I could start there. I mean, because just to pay some honoring of the legacies that we're continuing, because we're building upon folks' work in the community, like our elders, like with the Filipino Mental Health Initiative. I feel like has been a huge role in leading us to this point, and we're a part of it. But then elders like Tita Paulita, Dr. J. Africa, Larnie San Juan, and I there's so many folks. Tita Perla from PBRC, they have helped guide us just based on what they've done for our community, and we've actually consulted with them and got their blessing. So when Elena was talking about like what are we doing? What do we do? We talk a lot. We're building relationships a lot of the time with people and getting ideas and understanding best practices, or what would you do different, or what would you advise, as we're moving through this process. And as Elaine had mentioned, behind the scenes, we're like working on identifying folks who are well versed in managing a boba cafe, or the food industry. So, we have been going to like trainings on how to make boba. I mean, that's not a typical role that a nonprofit work employee would be, doing. So I'd say it's pretty unique work. It's other duties at the sign. I mean, we're also doing right for now. Working on marketing. We had to build up our logo design. So there was a lot of pieces that we had to scaffold before we can even get to a place of finding a home. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you said. It's the relationship building, the partner identification, the actual business of it all. Trying to find a space was quite an endeavor. We had looked at several spaces, and one of the spaces actually, before we found our current home at St. Pedro, was supposed to be. We were in negotiations with someone from Saramani. So it was really just trying to find the best fit, and then also just engaging folks, and then trying to figure out what would the look and feel of a cafe for our community be, right? Kind of combining all these sort of visions that Steph contributed, as well as folks from our advisories, and just bringing together talented folks and their skill sets to help really make this a collective effort that's by the community for the community.
The youth have contributed immensely thus far. I think in every stage and phase that we've gone through, they have made their mark. So from even before we found our space, they were in the stages of the community needs assessment. We've implemented what they see as necessary and vital for what our Cafe and Cultural Center stands for, right? Which is mental health, art, entrepreneurship, job readiness, and so much more. The list goes on. And at every step of the way, at any moment where we need to make a decision, they are our executive planning team, decision makers from the programming and what that should look like in each one of our community branches, to what do you think about the space and the renditions that the architecture looks like, and the design, to what kind of events you would like to see and have to put out for your peers in the community. They have played an instrumental role with every piece, and for me it's so special because y'all are the foundation of KKC, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And moving forward from here, it's going to continue having youth voice